Welcome to the Breakdown with Pastor Lee. I am excited to be back again to do another show. I want to thank everyone who has been supporting the show since we started some months ago. And I just ask for your continued support. And the comments have been awesome. And we encourage you to leave comments and and to kind of go back and forth in that way because that it just encourages us to keep on doing the Lord's work and keep doing what we're doing. And I just want to thank everyone who's been very supportive out there. And I'm just excited to be back again to be able to do this show. Once again, thanking my producer, Apostle Catherine Thomas. And today we're going to get right into it. The topic of the show today is God's hand. And when I say God's hand, I mean His presence in a situation. I mean His hand that you see in the midst of a storm, because He will show you that. But before we even get into, I just want to get right into it. I've given this testimony at church, but at church, you only have a certain amount of time to give your testimony, whether they tell you that or not. If you go too long, they're gonna start looking at you with the side eye, and you kind of gotta, you gotta wrap it up. So I thank God that I have this platform where I'm really able to talk about this situation and to be able to get into it where we can really get some things out of it, and that those that are viewing can be blessed by it. But I'll just start at the beginning because it's the best place to start. No, it was about it'll be six years now, in about a few months. 1 week before my 50th birthday, and I'll never forget it. It started off like any other weekend. I had my son, and I would get him every weekend. So this was a Saturday, and he was doing a puppet show, and I was taping it on my phone, and we laughed. We had a good time. It's just it was one of those things. So we have fun like that all the time. We still do. But so that Sunday morning, I woke up and for church, and I had to teach Bible study that day. So I was, of course, anxious for that because I'm always excited when I had to teach Bible study and that nature, or do anything, in the house of the Lord. So I woke up Sunday morning, and I noticed that something was a little bit off. Uh, I was not in any pain, but my body felt funny, and so I got up to try to look in the mirror to see if there was anything I could see that was different than what it usually was. And I remember getting to the mirror, uh, and I didn't see anything physically. I turned around and headed back to the bed, and I fell to the floor. Uh, my leg was going out. I could hardly move my arm. I could hardly move my leg after a while. So I finally made it. I made it to the bed, crawled up in the. Remember trying to keep this kind of like away from my son. I didn't want him to panic. He was down at the foot of the bed playing with his toys, and I didn't want whatever this was happening to me because I had no idea what was going on. So I got to the bed, and so I said I better call my fiance, and she didn't live far from me at the time, and so I called her, and no one answered. And so I called again, and no one answered. So I called the third time, and she picked up. And I explained to her, the best I could, what was going on. I, just felt strange. Just everything was just, out of whack. I remember her telling me that she had probably just enough battery in her phone for me to just finish telling her the situation before she had to jump in the car and come over and get me. So she came and got me, and And so we headed to the hospital. And I got to the hospital, and they immediately rushed me in. I'm still not knowing what's going on. I'm just kind of going through the motions here. And so they got me in the room and they started to work on me and what have you. And so, shortly after that, they took some tests and ran some tests and different things of that nature. And they eventually told me, I think it was either later on that day or earlier the next day, that I had had a stroke. And I didn't know, how to take this really at first, because I didn't really know anyone that had had a stroke. So it was just it was surreal, for lack of a better phrase. So anyway, but I noticed that even then, when they told me that, I had lost even more movement in my arm, which I'm moving right now, by the way. Every opportunity I get to do that, I do that. But anyway, I so I had, like, no movement in my left leg, in my arm, and it progressively, started to get a little bit worse and worse. So I guess it, somewhere along the line it stabilized, and then they get you to a point where, okay, this is what you got. But I didn't have very little movement at all by that time. Anyway, so it was probably about 2 days or a day and a half. Let's say a day and a half, because it wasn't that long. And I saw the nurses come in, and it was about three of them. So they came in and went over some things with me, blah blah blah, and kind of explained to me the situation. And it was one particular nurse, and I'll get back to that later on. And I forget her name, and but she was special. I can tell that God had kind of impressioned on her that this was a mission for her, because it was just something about her that was different than everybody else. But I'll get to that later on. So I guess about 2 days go by now, and so of course, friends and relatives, they come by, and you've seen people by now, and you're kind of getting a little bit of grip on what's going on. By this time, and I guess, like I said, about 2 days had gone by, and so here comes that group of nurses again, and the one special one that I just mentioned, and they were smiling, and they were happy, and I was like, "What's going on with them?" What's happening? So, so they started to talk, and they told me that the reason why they were happy is because I had got accepted to go to, I believe it was either the third or fourth floor, but it was a special floor that they admit people who have had a stroke victims. And and what was special about that, and they explained this to me, is that you normally, even if you have insurance, and I didn't have insurance, they were saying even if you have insurance, it's hard to get accepted on that floor. It's almost impossible to get accepted on that floor if you don't have insurance. And they were explaining that to me. Right then, right then, God had answered my prayer, because I had prayed before that, and it was a real simple prayer. It wasn't that deep. I just said, God, I just want to see your hand in this. And God has a way of showing you his hand, and he'll do it through people. That's because we are actually extensions of God. He uses us to move, to talk, to give encouraging words, to preach, to help. Whatever he needs to have done, he'll use us. And God's hand. And so, uh, days go by and I'm in the hospital. I don't know. I can't walk at this point. I'm in a wheelchair. Uh, I don't really know what the outcome is going to be, but I do remember the prayer I said that I wanted to see God's hand. And God will show you his hand if you ask him. And we'll get back to that in a second. But so a couple of days go by, and so I get admitted into the hospital. And I spend some time there, and I'm rehabbing every day. And that special nurse that I told you about, she's coming by every day. I have three separate nurses. One helps with the physical. One comes by to help with your cognitive skills and go over different things and get those things back in order and rehab that. And then you have one that comes by to just show you just like easy things that used to be easy, like getting into the tub and getting out of the shower, and uh, so this happens, every day. But the one special one that helped me with the physical part of everything, which is to get around, get back and forth. Uh, she's still coming, and they're all coming on a regular schedule every day, and I'm still not walking. I'm still in a wheelchair. 3, 4 days go by, and so the one that I'm just gonna call her the special one. I mean, they're all special, but just so we don't mix them all up. She comes by one morning and she says, well, okay, all right, Mr. Walker, what is it that you want to what's the goal? What do you want to be able to do that you can't do now when you get ready to leave? And I really didn't know what to say because I don't know what you should expect from a situation like this. I was so glad that, I was even still alive, to be quite honest with you. And so I I said, I guess off the top of my head, I said I would, you know, just be able to, I would at least like to be able to walk out of here with a cane, you know. At least I can, I didn't want to be in a wheelchair. So that was the best that I can come up with. And so she said, okay. She wrote it on the board. They have a board in there, and the nurses come in and write stuff on every time they come in there, and blah blah blah. If you've been in the hospital, you know what I'm talking about. So she wrote that on the board. The next day, she came by with a cane, and so she got me out of the wheelchair, and she gave me the cane, and we started walking through the hospital in the hall. And so a little bit by little bit, every day, we would do that. And so I was making, a little bit of progress there. So she decided to expand it and have me walking around the parking lot outside, which I was glad to do because I had been in the hospital for a few days. I just wanted to go outside anyway. We so we started doing that, walking around, doing that, and so progress was being made, and I'm rejoicing the whole time and just thanking God, just because now I'm not, at least, I've gotten out of the wheelchair, so I'm moving along, and I'm rejoicing right in the midst of all of this, in the midst of this storm, which is what basically this whole message is about. The bottom line is to rejoice in the middle of the storm, and I'll get to that. And the word says that, and we'll get to that. We're gonna tie all of this together some kind of way, and put a bow on it and call it what it's gonna be. And so, sure enough, with rehabilitation, I got a chance to walk out of the hospital a couple weeks later with that cane, and so that came to pass, and I thank God for that. So now I have the rehabilitation that I have to do outside of the hospital because this it's not over yet. I got people coming to the house. I got different places that I got to go, and different people working on different things, and arm strength, leg strength. People coming to the house and they're they're telling my wife because by now we're married, and so now they're telling my wife, different things and showing her how to do different things to rehab me. And I tell you, and I've told her this, and I'll just say this again publicly. She was just a rock in a situation like that. It helps to have someone to go through situations like that. I had my family members, I had my mom, my pops, everybody was supportive. But just having her there and being able to help me get through it was really something else as well. I mean, she had to do exercise stuff that I didn't want to do. I just didn't. Even this wall behind me, I remember doing exercises on that where I can bring my arm only up to this much, and then every day you have to try to push your arm and get it a little bit higher, as high as you can get it. And I remember the exercise. I remember a few of them, but bottom line, she was able to be that for me. So she was a rock and still is a rock in that situation. Now, so anyway, so time goes by. You're rehabbing. You got different things that you're doing. You got a schedule. You got different stuff that you can do. I had somebody coming over working on my legs. So now after a while, I can walk. Thank God. It's a miracle. So now I'm able to walk. But and as time went on, I was able to recapture most of everything that I had lost in that situation. But doing the hard work and having good people around surrounding me, and of course, above all of that, God. But so as we look at all of that, I had to give that testimony. Hopefully, that will help someone who's going through a situation right now where they may not be able to see the other side. The disciples had a situation similar to that. If you read in, I believe it's Mark chapter 6, they found themselves in a storm. They found themselves in a situation where it looked like they weren't going to make it out. And so, we're going to focus on what God expects us to do rather than what the disciples actually did. They really didn't handle this situation all that well, to be quite honest with you. But what he expected them to do, I'm going to take a look at Mark 6 and look what he expected them to do. It says, "For they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them and saith unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I, not be afraid." I think it's interesting. The first thing that Jesus says is be of good cheer. Now, we all know the story, but the thing about it is, if you can get so overwhelmed with your circumstances, your situation, that you can miss God. And what I mean by that is, whatever you're going through, whatever storm that you're having in your life, whatever situation that looks like it's going to take you out, God always shows you His hand. Now, whether you see it or not, or whether you recognize it or not, that's a different story. But He's going to show you that I'm involved in this. I'm in this. I'm in this with you. So He lets the disciples know, be of good cheer. First thing that He lets them know is be of good cheer. And then He says, it is I. Don't be afraid. A lot of times, the thing about it, the only thing that makes something a big deal is our unbelief. Unbelief will magnify everything and make it seem all like it's just huge when it's really nothing that God can't handle. and it's nothing that he can't get you through. You know, he'll go through the storm with you. I noticed also in that passage, if you really read that, he didn't stop the storm first and then tell them to be of good cheer. It's easy to be in good cheer once the storm done passed and you done got your boat to the other side. That's easy. It's easy to be of good cheer then. But he wants us to be in good cheer going through the storm. Because the reason why, because he'll never leave us or forsake us. He is there with us, and he's going to show you his hand. So in your situation that you might be in right now, you know, look and see. If you look hard enough, you'll see his hand. Somebody came and prayed for you, and that particular prayer felt a little different than a usual prayer does. Somebody came to see you. In my case, a nurse showed up that was a little bit different. Could have even been an angel. That was a little bit different than the others. Took her job a little bit differently than the others. And that was her. And she showed up and gave me confidence that I could be able to do what she was saying that I would be able to do. And the spirit that she had with it, I'll never forget it. It was just phenomenal. Because you got to understand, these people, you know what, you might say, well, Pastor Lee, they're paid to do this. They're paid to make sure that you're okay. They're specialists. They're this, that, and the other. They go through a certain amount of training that they have to have a certain amount of compassion even to have a job like that. Got all that. Get it. But then there are some that are sent. And there are some that have that spirit of God that you can tell. And she happened to be one of those. And that was one of God's ways of saying, hey, I'm in this. I'm in this. And because I'm in this, you can have good cheer. He showed up. The disciples almost missed him. They were so worried about the storm, and they were still worried after they saw him. Because right in the passage it says, for they all saw him and were troubled. That means you saw him and you still decided that we was in trouble. And so what God wants us to do is to be of good cheer, because we know that he's there. And whatever the situation is, it's going to come out okay, because God is there. You may not know exactly how it's going to come out. Going back to my situation, I didn't care about that, what was going to happen later on. I just cared that God was in it, and plus, not only that, I already had God's resume. I had already seen God get me through things before, tough situations, and he was there then, and showed me, you know, that he was always going to be with me. So I was able to draw on that and be able to say, okay, well, you've done this and you've done that, and so you got me through that time. So I don't see any reason why you won't get me through this as well. Because whatever the problem is that you're going through, just understand, just like with the situation with the disciples, the very thing that they thought was going to kill them, God was walking on top of the water. He's always on top of your problem, and he's gonna, you know, he's gonna see you through. You know, we get so caught up sometime in we forget that God is a spirit. He's not overwhelmed by this physical stuff that we go through. God can handle anything, and if we look at it from that standpoint, we'll be much more comforted because it's not a matter of whether or not the storm is going to come. It's not a matter of how bad the storm is. It's just a matter of being able to get through it and know that you get through it holding God's hand all the way through. Because he's going to show you his hand. He's going to show you his hand, and when you see that, you hold on to that, and that'll get you to the other side. So, you know, basically, this whole show today is just to go out to someone who may be going through a situation, who may find themselves in the midst of a storm, and hopefully this will bless someone. You know, this is one of a more personal show. I'm usually, I have guests sometime, and they come on and they talk about, their situations and what they're doing in the kingdom, and I love that, and I'm going to continue to do that. But this was just an opportunity for me to share in detail the reason why I'm still here, and I'm grateful for that. And just to publicly say, if anybody, the people who helped me even to be where I'm at right now, are watching, and I thank you all. And so that's what this is all about. Be in good cheer, first of all, and then don't be afraid, because fear that'll just eat up everything. It'll eat up your faith. So just have faith in God, and he'll be able to get you through the midst of the storm. Hold on to his hand. But so basically, that's what I wanted to get across today, and I hope that it blessed someone that was able to watch today. And I want to also just thank everyone for watching. I want to say as well, if you would like to support the show financially, this ministry, I always make sure I remind people that it is a ministry. It's a show, but it's still a ministry. And if you want to support the show financially, then you can look in the bottom of the screen, that is, and you'll see a couple of different ways where you can give to this ministry. And we appreciate that ahead of time. And then also, if you would even like to be a guest on the show, you can just email me at walketlee@gmail.com. Again, that's walketlee@gmail.com. WALKET Lee@gmail.com. Just send an email. I'll take that information, share it with the producers, and then we'll see if we can set up time we can speak with you, or whatever the case, and then see if you can be a guest on the show. We welcome anyone that's doing anything in the kingdom to be able to give us, to send an email so we can see if you can be on the show. We would love to have you, and we thank you. And this has been a really pleasure to be able to have this show. That's what this platform is for, to be able to come on, and I change it sometimes. Sometimes it's a Bible study, sometimes it's what we have today, and then sometimes it'll be guests. But the main thing is we're going to be breaking down the word and breaking down situations, every 2 weeks. And we thank you for tuning in, and we thank you for watching the breakdown with Pastor Lee. So God bless everyone. And before we leave, I just want to say a quick prayer. God, we just ask that you use this program to bless those that tune in and watch. And if anyone's watching the program right now that has not given their life to Jesus, we ask that they do by simply just accepting Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And it's just that easy. And then you can start your road, and you will be saved. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. I will see you in another couple of weeks, and we'll have another show. And God bless you, and everybody have a good week.
Hi, I'm Apostle Catherine Thomas. I'm founder of KT Leadership Academy, which is an online school that offers training for leaders. I'm also the author of 8 books, and you can find out more about these things on my website, catherinethomas.com. In addition to that, I have an opportunity to broadcast on Women in Ministry TV broadcast every Thursday at 10 o'clock a.m. And I like to invite you to watch. You will be blessed. I promise you. God bless you.